Mandatory. Listen.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, here we are on this sacred day of June 4th, 2020. And
Sacred day.
You know what? Tomorrow's my mom's birthday. Everybody clap it up for my mom. Everybody clap it up for my mom in the comments. Anyways, listen. This is why it's a sacred day, because this is the first day of the... Wait, what do we name this podcast?
Mandatory listening.
Listen, I want everybody in their houses to feel the energy in the way that I feel it. You know what I mean? This is mandatory listening. What is mandatory listening?
Mandatory. Listening. Just a little bit of audio effect there
I love
for
it.
you.
Mandatory listening is just a podcast we're going to be talking about albums that we probably should have listened to already, right? And we have failed to do so till now. Today, we are rectifying those wrongs. We are changing. All right, I don't have anything. I don't really have anything.
Guys and gals, the first record that we're starting with is
Whoa,
Rumours.
I need you to build it up a little bit more. You know what I'm I feel like that was a little too. I want the people to feel it.
Ladies and gentlemen,
there you go.
Debut episode of Mandatory Listening. Starting with the legendary 1977 album.
You know what? I'll be honest. I'm starting to feel a little
Rumours.
tingle inside. I think you
By Fleetwood
did
Mac.
it. All right, Rumours. You know what's the interesting thing about Fleetwood Mac, and I don't know if it's just me. Okay, it probably is just me, because I know like all the Fleetwood. Yeah,
probably
is
is.
just me. By the way, your camera is lagging really badly. The interesting thing about Fleetwood Mac. I'm gonna just make this personal. I personally always heard about Fleetwood Mac, but never really like experienced. Like I never really knew exactly who they were. Like if somebody was like Fleetwood Mac, I'd be like, oh yeah. I wouldn't even be able to say a song, right? So I think what led me to this first was I knew the song Dreams because I'm from Nashville and they used to play that song on this radio station called Mix 92.9 all the time. And so
Mix 92.9.
92.9. So there's like I don't know, it's like a nostalgic feeling I have with that song. And so I was making a Mix 92.9 playlist the other day and I heard it and I said to myself, oh, I never checked out Fleetwood Mac. Why?
You know, similarly, I had heard Dreams. I had heard Go Your Own Way, which I wouldn't be surprised if that was on
it definitely was.
as
It definitely
well,
was.
but
I know that song too, yeah.
And the only other one was The Chain. Those three songs I'd heard before.
Chain.
All the other ones, not so much.
So did you even know anything about the band before that, though?
The only thing I really knew about the band is Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham were an item. I knew something about them being together, and that's about it.
Wow, that sounds really degrading. Yeah, you got your
it sounds like
apples, you got your oranges, and you got your.
Well, I think that's apples and oranges. What you're saying?
All right. Next segment. Here's the main idea, the hook of this album is the juicy part, the whatever you want to call it. This is not a gossip podcast.
It's not a gossip podcast. I don't know why you're doing the gun fingers, but
because this because this album is called Rumours, you know. Shoulders. All right. No, I'm saying this is not a gossip podcast, but the thing that makes this band so interesting, and from what I learned, was that it is such like a gossipy band that happened in the 70s, and everybody was like sucked into the gossip. Now, the big thing that happened during the creation of this album, kind of like the main idea, kind of like the impetus of the creation of most of these songs, the inspiration, the muse, what else would you say? You know, like the spark that started the fire.
Ooh, wow, I like that.
Okay, Stevie Nicks. Here's a short story, right? Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham are both lead singers, right? And also Kristen McVie. She's also
Christine.
Oh, my bad. Sorry, Christine McVie. And so Lindsey plays guitar. Stevie just sings Christine plays piano. Meek Mill. Meek Mill and Fleetwood Mac.
Meek Mill on the drums. A lot of people don't know, but he actually started out in
Oh man, that would be legendary. Meek Mill. I know Mick Fleetwood on drums and John McVie. Okay, right. So Lindsay and Stevie, who are both lead singers, they were in a relationship for a long time, and then right before the creation of this album, they break up. That's a big deal because it's like two of your lead singers. Like, why would that happen? Now, if that wasn't enough, Christine McVie and John McVie, the bass player and piano player, and Christine is also a lead singer and wrote a lot of songs, a lot of great songs. They also broke up, and I was like, "Whoa, what's?"
And they were married.
Yeah.
They were getting a divorce.
Papers. They went to the courthouse, and it was like, "Look, we're doing this for real." Yeah, I don't know. Listen, Christine and John broke up. So then after that, not after that, but at the same time, Mick Fleetwood and his wife were having like troubles. Now, we're gonna build the context for this in a second here, but this is Fleetwood Mac at the height of their powers. You know what I mean? Like they were just like the previous album. Well, we're not going to get to that. We'll get to that later. But you just got to, it was such a great group of people. They played together so well. They wrote really great songs. And so they were on this upward trajectory. And then all this whole what would you call it? This whole debacle.
Well, just firestorm of relationship.
Oh yeah, I mean, firestorm of relationship problems, right? And it just served as the inspiration for something that, unfortunately for them, but fortunate for us, and also fortunate for them, was a great album. One of the best albums I've ever listened to in my entire life.
Wow, strong statement. I mean, hot take.
I don't even know if that's.
I mean, not that hot.
I don't know if it's a hot take. So let's take everybody back to the beginning. Fleetwood Mac, 1967. Just jump in wherever, okay?
Well, the only problem there is I don't know.
Nice.
So basically, this is their 11th studio album. So that means they had 10 albums before this one.
Just so people know.
In less than 10 years, too.
Yeah.
They were
cranking
them out.
About that. Less than 10 years, they had 10 albums. Okay. Here's what I know. In 1960... Wait, no. Okay. I'm going to give you some names that's going to be... All right. Peter Green is the band leader for the original Fleetwood Mac. Okay? Let me give you... This is how this happened, okay? John Mayall, I don't really know how to say his name, but he's like a blues guitar player from, I'm going to say Britain, but I don't know if that's right.
We'll go with that.
He had a band that was called John Mayall and the Blues Breakers. And I'm telling you, all-star players in this band, maybe not at the time, but they grew into it. You have the legendary Mick Fleetwood, of course. Well, not of course. I'm telling you, you didn't know that. I mean, unless you do. And now, and if you do, then of course, Meek Fleetwood, Meek Fleetwood. What's the John McVie, who's also in Fleetwood Mac. What was the guy's name? That was Peter Green, who's the leader of the original Fleetwood Mac, and then Eric Clapton was in this band, right? So here's how, here's the legend is this. Well, it's not a legend, it's the truth. The truth is this. The truth is this. Okay. Peter Green had a birthday, as we all do. And John Mayall said to Peter Green, "Yo, it's your birthday. And I'm sure he said it with this exact vernacular. Yo, it's your birthday. Let me hook you up with some studio time." And so Peter Green was like, "Wow, thank you so much, Mr. Mayall." So he gave him the studio time, and then Peter Green goes into the studio and is like, "Okay, I want to, cut some songs." And he got his pals from the. Did I just say pals? He got his friends.
Pals.
He got his friends from Fleetwood. Not from Fleetwood. He got his friends from the Blues Breakers, Mick Fleetwood and John McVie, to record this demo. Okay. And it was just like a demo of a couple of songs. And they just named one of the songs Fleetwood Mac. Just because, Mick Fleetwood was helping record it, and John McVie.
Right.
You know, so that's literally the impetus of the name. So whenever, right. So whenever Peter Green decides to kind of break off from the Blues Breakers and do his own thing, he enlists the help of John McVie and Mick Fleetwood. And so that becomes the band. It happens in 1967, and they're literally, as a bunch of like articles would call it, they're like a blues outfit or like a blues band, like a blues group. That's what they did. They just played blues music. Some of it had words, some of it didn't. It was very much not what Fleet Mac would become 10 years later. A lot of things happened, in between that and the classic band in 75 when that was created. But I'll just give you the highlights. Peter Green in like 1970-ish, I think, kind of just has like a conversion where he's just like, wow, this music is of Satan. I can't do it anymore. And so he basically kind of quits, and that kind of being the reason. He just like joined, kind of like became a Christian in a certain way, and he just felt convicted in a way that he was like, I can't do this anymore. That's not strange, but that's like interesting. And then like right after that, Jeremy Spencer, which was another guitar player in the band at the time. By the way, there were so many variations of this band between 67 67 and 75. Spencer also had a strange kind of situation. I think the situation was that he gets on a bus, and it's like a Church of God bus, and they're like, brother, you need Christ. And he's like, you're right. And he just leaves. Like he just
wow. So that's now two of them.
People. Now if I'm John and Mick, I'm like, wow, I must really be in, like, that gets me nervous, right?
Oh, it would definitely make me nervous. It would make me feel like we are headed straight downwards.
Yeah. So here's how we get to 1975, which is the self-titled album / record, Fleetwood Mac. And I remember we had a convo in the beginning, like, why are there two self-titled albums?
This kind of seems like the rebirth of the band. So, you get Stevie and Lindsay in there. Christine came along at some point. I mean, I don't know if she was at the same time as Stevie and Lindsay.
Yeah, she joined in 70.
Yeah, this is like, okay. So this is like, here we go, really with Stevie and Lindsay. I think they knew that this was going to be another period of the band.
Yeah.
Like a refocus, a
exactly.
rebirth.
Yeah, so like,
before
Stevie and Lindsay had been in the band, Christine was in the band already. She was playing piano because she was John's wife, and she was good, and she played in a band called like I forget the name of the band that she was in before in England. But anyway, so she's a part of the band already. Mick and John are trying to find. Mick kind of becomes like the manager and like the overseer of the group. You know what I mean? Like and he's like, all right, we need to find somebody to replace. I mean, we need to find somebody to like be the lead singer, right? And or I think they were looking for a guitar player, and Christine was just going to be the singer. And so the I think it was like a producer or something like that was kind of auditioning to record Fleetwood Mac, and he took him to a studio and he was like, yeah, look at these recordings of what I've done lately. And it just happened to be Buckingham Nicks, which was the group that Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks were like a duo kind of thing. And so,
can I just say, it really seems like everyone loved their last name quite a bit here. What's with that? Fleetwood Mac, Buckingham Nicks. It's like, people were coming up with things by then.
We should have called this podcast Mast and Ryan.
Well, there's a reason why we didn't. That sounds terrible.
Bad idea. Back to the drawing board. Buckingham Nicks was like the music he used to kind of like audition and be like, check out how I record sounds. And Mick was like, yeah, oh, that's nice, but who's the guitar player? And he was like, oh, it's this young buck from something. Yeah. I'm just trying to imagine how they would talk in 1974, And,
right.
Oh, young buck, I didn't even get it. He's telling him, he was like, yeah, this guy named Lindsay. And so he was like, well, can you hook me up with him professionally? And he was like, yeah, we could do that. And so he meets up with Lindsay, and Lindsay's basically like, Yeah, I'd love to be in your band. I'd love to be in your band, but me and my girlfriend are like a package, and that was Stevie at the time. And Nick's like, I mean, I guess, she's only going to be one of the most revered female vocalists in the 20th century. But I mean, do what you want. Sure, she can come along. So that happens, right? That's how you get the classic band, right? They record the 1975 album, Fleetwood Mac. It does like crazy numbers. Rhiannon, which is like I think the most popular song on that album, does really well. What else happened on there?
That's pretty much all I know about that album. Is Rhiannon was a huge hit, and it just, like I said, it just kind of restarted the band. I think. I mean, they had been through so much already, but to get Stevie and Lindsay together, once again, huge steal for that to be just like, oh yeah, throw in the singer and the package deal, and then she's Stevie Nicks. So they got super lucky with that.
So they go on tour. They did the album. They go on tour. It's doing great. I mean, it's doing great. I mean, they're all pretty young too. Like at the time that in 1977. Like John McVie, the bass player, was like 30. Christine was 33. Stevie was 28. Like Lindsay was, I don't know. I think he's like a little bit younger than her. Anyways, so like, they're all like in that age range of ages. So it was kind of like rock and roll, which also was making me curious. Like, they started the band at pretty young age, like 18, 17, 16, like
yeah, they'd already been around for 8 or 9 years or so.
So by the time they were 30, they were like seasoned professionals. Also, 75 is the time that they moved to LA. So the band kind of relocated from overseas to Los Angeles. So you're right. It was like very much a rebirth. This kind of is the context and kind of like builds us up to 1977 and the album.
Right. So here we have this beautiful little studio in Sausalito, California, called the Record Plant. Okay. So the Record Plant, there was a record plant in New York, there was a record plant in LA, but then there was a record plant in Sausalito.
And Sausalito is northern California, right?
Right, kind of around the San Francisco Bay Area.
Yeah,
right.
Keep talking.
So February through August of 1976 is when this gets recorded. They bring in a couple of producer engineer guys, Ken Kaye, I think is how you say his name, who is the father of
Colby Kaye. Yes.
Kaye. Let's go with Kaye.
Bubbly is her song, right? How does that song go?
I'm bubbly.
I don't think that. Hey, Dad, I don't think that's the song. Hold up, I'm looking up the lyrics. It starts in my toes and it crinkles my nose wherever it goes.
Yes,
I always know. Right, that's her song.
Wow.
That's just middle school right there. When I hear that song,
that is just middle school in a nutshell.
It's like straight middle school whenever I think of that song. All right.
And not just because we were in middle school, but because that's just a middle school song.
What is starting in your toes and crinkling your nose?
Apparently bubbles or something. I don't know. She's taking a bubble bath. Man. All right, so her dad, Ken, and then Richard Dashut.
Okay.
We'll go with Dashut as his name. They were the producers, engineers. So they get brought in, but the album was also kind of produced by Fleetwood Mac in a sense.
Yeah,
they all contributed.
Definitely.
Yeah. So here's the thing for me with the Record Plant, and this is just the best thing I've read about a studio that doesn't really have to do with the music. Okay. This is amazing. So they obtained industrial grade nitrous oxide from a local chemical supply company under the pretext that it was critical to the recording process. Okay, so they convinced this company to give them nitrous oxide.
I'll be honest.
Like when you go to the dentist and you get laughing
I'll be
gas,
honest.
right?
Sign me up. Let's go. We're going to the record plant. Hey, the new podcast, episode 2 of Mandatory Listening, is being recorded at the record plant.
Yeah, we're taking the pod on the road, ladies and gentlemen. But listen, here's the thing. So they literally had gas masks hanging from the ceiling. So if you were in the studio recording, you could just be like, well, here we go. And you just like get high off of laughing gas. Okay. And the craziest thing to me is this too. They had tanks delivered weekly to the studio.
Wait.
They were churning
so they
through.
were serious about that. It wasn't like it wasn't like you go into a restaurant and they're like, hey, we put we have license plates on our windows. You know what I mean? It's not like something like,
oh no,
this is just like adds to the vibe. No, they were serious. You know,
no,
we need microphones,
like they were
we
using
need tape, and we need nitrogen oxide. That's crazy. Okay. What's the name of it again? What is it called?
Nitrous
oxide.
Nitrous
Wow.
oxide.
That is, you kind of just blew my mind with that.
Wow.
Like I didn't even.
Oh yeah.
I didn't even know. Like I didn't even know that was. I read a lot of things and I never read that. That's crazy. Okay.
I did a little digging for
the studio. So that studio was an interesting place, and they were very specific. Those producers were very specific about how they recorded this album. Like I remember at one point they spent a total of 4 whole days tuning a piano. I was like,
yeah, they were super detail oriented. Just like every little thing has to be this way.
Also, it just speaks to the budgets in the 1970s. It's like, you need 4 days to do nothing. You got it. Yeah, great. Hey, you want to put some nitrogen in the ceiling? Wait, nitrous?
Plus, they were coming in at 7 p.m., right? Feasting, doing cocaine, partying, right? Until late into the night. Jeez. And then they started recording.
When you said feasting, that made me think of vampires. Like, do you mean just literally eating? Okay.
Yeah. It's not just vampires that feast.
You're right.
Yeah.
But
like,
when's the last time you feasted? That's what I want to know.
At Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is when I feast. That's the only feast of the year is Thanksgiving. Unless you have a budget from the 70s and you're in a big band and you can just get spreads.
Oh, so you're literally saying like they had spread, like they weren't just eating, they had like spreads of food like all the time.
Like literally the word that the Wikipedia said is feasting. So I'm assuming they meant like spreads of food, not just like, oh, let's order some McDonald's or pizza, right?
They I remember another story where they were talking about the like Lindsay on the song what's the song where he's just playing like a guitar? Oh, Never Going Back Again, that song. Where they like tune the guitars like every 2 takes and like getting new strings like all the time, and just like that type of like I don't want to what's the word when you make something seem like it was greater than it was? Like, I don't want to
glorify.
Yeah, I don't want to glorify this weird like idea of we're just gonna spend as much money as possible. You like I think some people put these like put people like this, not people, but like those practices on the pedestal. Like, oh, he just works into the forever, and it's like, well, it's kind of just wasting time. Like, if you think about it.
Well, I think the fact that they were so detail oriented and like specific about how's the piano tuned, what strings are on the guitar, like could this song be a single or could this song be a single, all that kind of stuff. I think that's what held it together because, I mean, they were getting blasted every night, and
so you think like that was like almost like it. So it's like almost like a coping mechanism in some way, like Because like you said, like in the studio, they were literally. When I listened to this album for the first time, I listened to the first song, "Secondhand News," and one of the notes that I have is like, "Wow, this is one of the happiest breakup songs I definitely heard." And then I also said he definitely won this breakup. There's definitely winner when you have breakups. There are definitely winners and losers. You know, some people handle it better than others.
For sure.
And it seems like he was making his statement like, "Stevie, I got you." Like, I won this one. And then the second song happens, which is Dream. Is the second song Dreams? Yeah.
Dreams. Yep.
And I thought to myself, wow, super sad song. And I said, LOL, makes me think they are going through a breakup. Because I listened to the album before I did any research on it. And I was like, wow, two breakup songs back to back. And then Never Going Back Again, another breakup song. Then Don't Stop. It's like a song about hope, kind of, right? It's kind of a weird placement. But then right after that song, Go Your Own Way, is a happy breakup song. Songbird, really, really, really sad breakup song. The Chain, or is the Songbird a breakup song, or was it something about that?
I think it could be interpreted.
You can keep going, like they're all about breakups except The Chain.
Yeah, yeah, and the thing is, they kind of said afterwards, like they didn't necessarily realize what they were doing, but because all 5 of them were going through breakups, especially 2 of them within the band. It just naturally came out that all of them were just kind of around that theme of endings and new beginnings, I guess you could say. But
and you got to think about it. You know, they're writing these songs in the studio because people did that then, and they were like, you know, Stevie writes this great song, and Lindsey obviously knows it's about him, and he has to be like, well, what guitar part do you want? What are you hearing for the lead part on this song? You know what I'm saying? This idea of having to not only you know, because I mean, to marry somebody, you probably got to care about them in some way. And Lindsey and Stevie's case, they had kind of grown up together, especially in their young adult life, and so to not only have to endure that kind of like relationship pain of just breaking up somebody that you like or you love, it's also like they had to like be in the room, this small control room, and write songs about it, you know, and you know what I wondered, and I didn't look this up, I wonder if they're like management teams / like publicists or something like that told them to like play into it. Because every interview you hear them, they're always like doubling down on the fact that we're not ashamed of what we're going through. You know, we want to tell, you know, let people in and let them know. And that seems like a little too good to be true to me. Like, it seems like you don't make that decision unless you've like collectively made a decision. Like, and then the whole marketing, like it was on Rolling Stone, the front page of Rolling Stone that year. One of the front pages of Rolling Stone that year was all of them in a bed together. Like, they were obviously playing into the fact that people really were interested in how juicy this was. You know what I'm saying? Like, people really.
Well, and I wonder how different it would have been if this had happened in the 2000s, 2010s, internet, social media, more paparazzi. Like, I wonder how that would have affected.
Yeah.
Because they would have been all over.
I guess you could, because back then, I guess you could like kind of control your own narrative way more. Well, people. Totally. Well, I guess now you have direct access to people, so you could probably control it more now. But it just seems like back then, whatever story they gave you is what the story was.
Well, there were so much fewer ways to get a story out. Like, there were magazines, but there were only a couple like big ones. There was TV, but only a few channels. You know, I mean, it was still pretty limited. But now, yes, you can control, you know, your profile on Instagram or your kind of theme or whatever on your social media, but so can everyone else they can talk about you constantly and hashtag this and tag you, and it's just like, I feel like that would be kind of devastating to the process.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it clearly turned out great.
It really did. I mean, you can't. I mean, this is one of the quotes from that Stevie said. But all those problems and all those drugs and all the fun and all the craziness all made for writing all those songs. If we'd been a big, healthy, great group of guys and gals, none of those great songs would have been written, you know? The fact that we are on stage, there's a lot of tension. You're never going to take that away. The fact that there are two ex-couples on stage, you know? And you're never going to take back the fact that a lot of those songs were written about each other. I think that's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just pretty crazy to be a fan at that time and look on stage and see. It's like going to an On the Run concert and Beyonce and Jay-Z are like broken up, but they're still doing still doing On the Run. Like that would be just, it would be something crazy. And so I think that like when I put it in that kind of perspective as a fan, just to watch that tension on stage, especially when they're writing songs about each other, it's pretty interesting. Like
it's very interesting, yeah. Well, and so back to kind of the music side of things. I have to say this, and this may ruffle some feathers of Fleetwood Mac fans out there.
I like it, bro. Coming in hot, coming in hot on a first episode. Don't.
Yep. This is a hot take, but it's actually not that hot of a take.
Oh, you can't to take then cool to take. Is it a hot take?
I'm cool. I'm throwing ice on the hot take before I even say
really
it.
Give it to him. Who cares about the Fleetwood Mac fans?
So there's two sides to this album, right? The first 6 songs and then the last 5 songs. Side 1, in all caps, amazing. Okay. The second side is great. You see what I mean? Like, first side, incredible. Second side, really well done.
Wait. Give me another one. I think I'm almost there. Say it again.
First side, stupendous. Second side, good.
First side, Curb Your Enthusiasm. Second side, Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yes, that is perfectly said. I love that. Yes, I could watch Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah. What a great show.
But if I had to choose between that and Curb Your Enthusiasm, Curb Your Enthusiasm.
So I don't agree. I think they're both amazing sides. You look at this.
You think they're equally amazing?
Yes, I think they're pretty equally amazing.
Okay.
Just because Goldust Woman might just on its own, just take the cake because.
Okay.
I don't know. It's like one of those songs. It's like that song, "Hurt." That I think it's a 9-inch. I think it's a 9 Inch Nails song. So right. That song that Johnny Cash sang, but he like covered it.
Yep.
Wow, when you hear that, don't you just feel just like, wow, what a life, right?
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
You feel the
pain. Like I feel like he really regrets his life when he's singing that song.
Mm-hmm.
The same way when I hear Goldust Woman, it just sounds like a regretful song. And I don't think she means that, and I don't think that's what she was trying to like get across. But it just seems like, well, first of all, it's about cocaine, and so like, and like as you said one time, if you ever have a thought during the listen to this album, like, is that about cocaine? Yeah, probably right. It's probably cocaine.
Yep. Probably so. You could probably just crack it up to that.
So I mean, Goldust Woman, The Chain. The Chain is on side 2, right? Yeah.
The Chain. Oh, that's the other thing. So another hot take.
Coming in hot. Hot take number 2.
The Chain starts side 2.
Oh yeah.
I think it should and side
No.
This is the thing for me. So this is why it's great. This is why it's Everyone Loves Raymond. Everybody Loves Raymond. And
Honestly,
not
I don't like
Enthusiasm.
dissing side 2 by calling it Everybody Loves Raymond.
But that's what I'm saying. It's really not a diss.
I'm saying let's
like,
give it a better sitcom. You know, like Seinfeld.
Oh, better than
Seinfeld.
Oh, no, I can't do that. I don't know about Curb Your Enthusiasm and Seinfeld, especially because it's both Larry David. So now we're giving Larry David too many props.
We're not gonna go too far in this, but you don't think Curb Your Enthusiasm is better than Seinfeld?
That's a whole podcast episode. First of all, I haven't seen as much Curb as Seinfeld, but I'm more of a purist with sitcoms.
Yeah, I love I love watching Seinfeld.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's totally fine to think Curb is better, but anyway, The Chain. I think the way that song ends, that just sounds like the end of a record to me, and I don't know if that's just me, but and it's that all 5 of them wrote it, 3 of them are singing on it. It's like, well, that's the end.
I think that's a good kind of segue. The Chain wasn't on the original album. Okay, it was on the original album, but it wasn't. Okay, all right. Let me give you the quick let me give you the quick backstory here. Okay, yeah. No. So they recorded all the album in Sausalito, right? They get done with after 9 months of just heart-wrenching songs and writing and playing, and they're listening to it together at the end. They're like, wow, guys, look what we did. What a great album. And they're sitting in the control room, and they're like, all right, let's listen. So they listen through. They're like, wow, it's so great. Then they pull out the test reels just to kind of compare with the original. The test reels, I don't know that much about it because I don't know that much about tape recording. But essentially, it's like an original version of how the drums sounded, right? And so they're listening to it, and they're like, it's like that emoji. It's like that emoji with the blue coming down the person's face. That I could just imagine them sit in the studio and they listen to those test reels, and then just all 5 of them just blue just coming.
Yeah.
Because when they listened to those test reels, they realized, wow, this sounds way better than our recordings. They listened to their recordings and they're like, this sounds so dull. There are no highs. There's no excitement in the recording. You know, it's
and you know why part of the problem with that is they got damaged by repeated use.
They were playing it back so much because they were tuning the piano for 4 days. No, they were just overkilling a bunch of the process, and they were playing it back so much that it just kind of lost its. I don't really know about tape again, but it just kind of lost its brilliance, and so they're basically just really bummed out about the fact that it sounds really dull. It doesn't have, like I said, it doesn't have that excitement. It doesn't have that. It doesn't hit you like the original test recordings did. So, as a result, you can tell me about this process because I can't remember how that.
Well. So first of all, they had a sold out U.S. tour that they just canceled because they had to push back everything. They had to push back the release of the album.
Sounds familiar.
So
it was like all of our gigs in coronavirus.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I had a sold out tour waiting on me this summer, and
just gone, just like that.
Those arenas are just empty,
gone, just like that.
So they had to hire a specialist to use a varispeed oscillator. Okay. Don't ask me the definition of that, but it was a varispeed oscillator.
I wasn't going to.
Great. I was also talking to the listeners because I don't know.
Yeah, they're going to be tweeting you. At Dan Ryan 95.
If I had a Twitter, yes, they would.
You don't listen. You don't watch my tweets. My tweets be fire, bro.
I don't have a Twitter. I deleted it a couple years ago.
What a shame. I'm really getting my stuff off over there, bro. I feel like that's really my natural voice Twitter. All right, go ahead.
So they hired a specialist, and through headphones on the left side, he was listening to the Damage tapes. On the right side, he was listening to the master safety recordings. Okay. And somehow, again, not a tape expert either, but somehow he had to converge and restore these original recordings. And the only way that he did that is by hearing the timing of the hi-hat and snare drum. He could still make out Mick Fleetwood's snare and hi-hat, and he did it, and it worked. But I don't know how. That
sounds worse than when we used to have to clean the escalators at Publix.
Oh, with a toothbrush.
It wasn't a toothbrush.
Clean it with a toothbrush.
It was like just a brush, but it wasn't a toothbrush. But still, like
it was a big toothbrush, is what it was.
But a big toothbrush is not a toothbrush. But yes, it was, and somehow that sounds better than doing. Like, how long did that take?
That's a great question. I feel like if they hired him to
it had to take some time, right? Like,
it had to take some time. I mean, they'd spent 4 days on a dadgum piano tuning, so it might have been there a week for all I know.
So eventually, they go back to L.A. They go to L.A. and they basically overdub the album. Like, I'm not going to go into a whole bunch of the details, but when you think about the fact that this whole album is an overdub, it's kind of amazing.
It's really amazing, and that it sounds so complete and
so real,
thematic and
sounds
real.
so live. It sounds like they're playing off of each other.
Mm-hmm.
All those things. I think that so they basically overdid. Now, getting back to The Chain, that song wasn't on the one before the tapes got just like messed up or whatever. So they had a bunch of parts, and then when they recorded in L.A., they kind of put that song together, which is why they wrote it all together. Because I guess they were just kind of together, putting it together. It's like the only song they wrote together. And so
right.
I think that's why it makes sense there. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't think I have any more notes about anything, but it's one of the most interesting album stories I've ever heard. And I don't know why we we did it first, because I don't know how we're gonna get better at this, besides the fact that we can definitely get better, but it's making me even more interested to find the stories and the backgrounds of some of the other albums. But I think a cool thing we could do is use something in this episode or this story or this album and kind of connect it to what album we decide to do next.
Right. So one way we could do that is...
Oh, Dan's already got it on deck.
That's right. This studio, the record plant, the original studio, the record plant in Sausalito, there's some other albums that you may have heard of that were at least partially recorded
hit me with it.
One, Fresh, Sly and the Family
Never
Stone.
heard of it. I'm just playing.
Which has one of my all-time favorite bass lines, "If You Want Me to Stay."
Oh,
that's
man.
Yeah,
I can't believe.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was really recorded there.
At
part
least,
of it.
I don't know if You Want Me to Stay was, but part of Fresh was.
Goodness.
Okay. Then you got Songs in the Key of Life, Stevie Wonder. I mean, yeah, we can't just blow by that one. That's a legendary one.
And then I think I heard
For You, which was Prince's debut.
Oh yeah,
album.
yeah, the one with Soft and Wet on it.
Before he was Prince. Yeah.
We're not gonna get too deep into it. That's an interesting album because he sounds way different.
I've not heard it.
It's very interesting. You should listen to it. But I think they came out in 78, right?
78, 79, somewhere in there. So all of those, including, of course, Rumours, all within 6-7 years. Okay.
That's pretty crazy.
In the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
For You is the debut studio album.
The 70s,
recorded by Prince.
From best I can tell, once it got into the 80s and 90s, like there was still some stuff going on, but those albums are kind of the historical peak
I don't think you need any more. Soft and Wet was recorded there. Like Soft and Wet is, you know what I'm saying? So I don't really, what else do you need? Like you guys had nitrous gas in the ceilings. You had a good run. It can't last forever.
I still can't get over that, man. They just had laughing gas just available. Like
that's crazy. Wow. That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I chose Fleetwood Mac for us to do this time. So what album do you want to choose?
I'm going to go with Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder.
My guy.
Most of the reason for that is that I've heard probably 7 or 8 of the songs because there's 21 songs. I've heard about 7 or 8 of them, but I haven't ever listened from top to bottom.
Okay, so first of all, I'm almost positive that you heard more than 7 or 8 songs on the album.
Okay, I'll say immediate recognition, 7 or 8, but maybe there's a couple that I've heard.
I think there's
and
definitely
I just don't realize
in the second album. Well, if you've never listened to it all the way through, we definitely got to listen to that. We definitely got to do that. Wow, that's the end of the first episode.
Except for 3 on 3.
So 3 on 3 is a segment that we're trying to start up. The only problem is I don't have 3, so I might give you 1 if I can think of something that I haven't said already.
Yeah, listen, guys, don't be holding us to these numbers. So, it could be 1 on 2 and 17 on 4.
Yeah, the idea of 3 on 3 is that at the end of every album, we're gonna kind of try to like outdo each other, one up each other, Terrell Owens in the middle of Cowboy Stadium, you know what I'm saying? Like, try to one up each other on facts about the album or the artist or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get Dan to go first because I got to find mine.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys. I really wish I'd saved that nitrous oxide bit for
that would have been great.
Because, it would have been 1 on 0, game over, see you next week. But I gotta give you this one. So, it won 1978 Album of the Year at the Grammy Awards. Okay. Now, get this. Okay. These are the other albums in the category that were nominated.
Okay. This is actually
an incredible. This is an incredible list.
Okay, I'm ready.
I'm already gonna butcher the name, but I'm pretty sure it's Asia by Steely Dan. Is that wrong?
I thought you were joking.
What is it?
Asia.
Oh, okay.
Aren't you a Steely Dan fan?
Bro, you had me scared, bro.
Aren't you a Steely Dan fan?
Okay, so that brings up a good point. My Instagram handle, as probably any of you who are listening know, is Steely Dan 95.
Yeah.
Purely just because of the Dan. I have seen them live.
I didn't know this about you.
What? You didn't?
I didn't know.
Okay.
I thought you were a huge Steely Dan fan.
I know embarrassingly little about Steely Dan.
You know what? All right, you did your hot take. I'm gonna do my hot take. Not really a fan.
Oh wait, no.
I'm not a fan.
All right, go ahead. I'm gonna beat you anyway. Go ahead.
I'm not a fan of Steely Dan like that.
Oh, your hot take. I got you.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, so I appreciate them, but talk about like details, man.
But
I think
But Asia was a huge album. And I didn't know it came out in the same year.
Yeah, so I mean, I haven't even, that's the first one. Asia, Steely Dan, Hotel California, the Eagles. JT, James Taylor. I'm not familiar with that one, but James Taylor was big. And the Star Wars original soundtrack by John Williams.
Wait, how's the Star Wars? Wait.
That's what I said.
Soundtrack competing for album of the year.
It was that massive, like that. Because the first Star Wars came out in '77, same year. So, like, to have that soundtrack especially, and then Hotel California in Asia, and it beat all those. And I know the Grammys are, corrupt and everything, but I mean, at some point you got to pick one of those, right? Yeah. So, I mean, it's amazing.
Crazy. Yeah, I don't have anything, man. It's gonna be a 3. It's gonna be a 1-0 this week. Next.
Thanks for listening to 3 on 3.
Yeah, 3 on. Yeah. Next week I'll definitely like come to the table with something. You beat me out this time. 1-0. Dan won.
1-0.
Although I think you should take an L for having Steely Dan as your your at and you don't.
It's purely
I wish you would have said Adja. That's what I really wish you would have said.
Yeah, guys, I'm gonna get this wrong, but Aja by Steely Dan.
AJA. Yo, we're the most like uneducated music experts on YouTube.
But hey, that's why we're doing this podcast is to get better and to increase our spread of what we know about.
My ultimate
music.
goal is in like 12 years, I want to like start a beef with Questlove.
Yeah, see now, that's the only thing that we have a pretty divisive view on. Is I'm not trying to start a beef with Questlove.
What's up? What's up, bro? Questlove. What's up? Well, wait. Let me.
Yeah, tune in next week for Questlove is our guest when we talk about songs in the key of life.
In 12 years, I'm making it like official. 12 years. Questlove who? And I'm just like, nah. I got all the love for Questlove, and I don't really want that Philly smoke like that. So I'm good.
Yeah, I feel like you wouldn't be able to go to Philly if you have a beef with Questlove.
Yeah, I don't want to find out.
They just wouldn't let you in. They'd be like,
I don't want to find out. I want to find out.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, thanks for watching Mandatory Listen. Listen. Listen, guys, thanks for watching Mandatory Listening. This has been episode 1, talking about Rumours with my guy, Daniel Ryan. My name is Aaron Maston. Peace, love, happiness, and what else? But the greatest of these are...
Yeah. Somebody get the piano.
Peace.